President Trump breaks the news. The suspect in Charlie Kirk's assassination is now in custody. He reveals shocking details about the capture, including the unexpected role of a minister and law enforcement. Watch the full story unfold.
With a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant that was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But, yeah, I think we're in great shape.
Mr. President,
and he's in custody.
Your suspicion was that he was radical left. And now you have more information. What can you share with us?
Yeah, I think that I don't want to go too far. I'd like to tell you some stories at how it happened, but essentially somebody that was very close to him turned him in. And that happens when you had some of those good shots. Somebody is going to say, whether it's a parent or whatever, I'd rather not say right now. They're going to announce it today, sometime later, probably talk about that. But somebody close to him turned him in. You know, they said, whoa. It's interesting where we had very good pictures, but not great, not perfect. And when you look at it, what happened is somebody, and this happens a lot. It happened with the crazy Boston bomber. It happened with others. Somebody that's close recognizes even a little tilt of the head, which nobody else would do. And somebody that was very close to him said, that's him. And essentially went to the father, went to a U.S. Marshal, who was fantastic, by the way. And the person was involved with law enforcement, but was a person of faith, a minister. And brought him to a U.S. Marshal, who was fantastic. And the father convinced the son, this is it. And again, I'm always subject to be corrected, but you know, I'm just giving you, based on what I'm hearing, they'll give you a much more active. I just heard about it 5 minutes before I walked in. As I'm walking in, they said, looking real good. They have the person that they wanted. So you have breaking news, don't you, huh?
Thank you.
You always have breaking news, Ainsley. Sean's going to be very disappointed that we're not doing it on his show.
He'll be very thankful and appreciative of the police officers that got this guy.
They did a great job, everybody. And everybody worked together. Pam Bondi is incredible, by the way. People don't know what a star she is. She's incredible. And it all worked out.
Can I ask you just some clarification? So a pastor was able to turn him in, or they got the family of the shooter to turn them in?
Well, it was a minister, and the minister went to a minister who was involved with law enforcement, by the way. And his good friend is a top U.S. Marshal. And they took it from there, and then it was a father got involved, namely his father, and said, we got to go in. And they, so I understand it. And again, subject to change. But, you know, the facts are the facts. We have the person that we think is the person we're looking for. But they drove into the police headquarters, and he's there now.
Did the father know about what the son had done?
I don't know. I'm going to let you get all those questions later, because I can't tell you how accurate. The bottom line is they have somebody that they think did it.
The assassination of Charlie Kirk is a chilling event, not just for its brutality, but for what it represents about the state of political discourse in America. President Trump's recent interview on Fox and Friends shed light on the breaking news regarding the suspect's arrest, offering a rare insight into the ongoing investigation. However, beyond the details of the arrest and law enforcement's efforts, there are deeper, more complex layers to consider. Why did the suspect feel the need to assassinate a public figure like Kirk? What does this event suggest about the direction of political violence in the country? And perhaps most importantly, how should this incident be handled to prevent future acts of political extremism? While details surrounding the suspect's motivations remain unclear, the attack on Charlie Kirk can be seen as part of a growing pattern of political violence. The president's comments, particularly about the suspect's supposed radical left ideology, suggest that the incident may have been politically motivated. However, the question remains, why would someone feel compelled to resort to such drastic action against a prominent conservative figure like Kirk? The murder of a political figure, particularly one like Kirk, who is actively involved in conservative activism, can be viewed through multiple lenses. On one hand, it reflects the extreme polarization that has come to define modern American politics. Over the past few years, the nation has witnessed the rise of ideological extremism, with factions from both the left and right engaging in increasingly violent rhetoric. The recent attack on Kirk could be seen as an attempt to silence a political voice, to strike fear into the heart of the conservative movement, and to send a message to others with similar beliefs. On the other hand, the assassination might reflect an individual's sense of disillusionment with the political system. In an era where trust in institutions, including government and law enforcement, is at an all-time low, people may feel that resorting to violence is the only way to make a statement. In this sense, the act may have been motivated by a desire for recognition, or the belief that their actions could alter the course of political discourse. Whether the suspect intended to act as a lone wolf or as part of a larger movement, the fundamental purpose remains the same: to create disruption and force the public to confront a deeply fractured political system. What makes this incident even more unsettling is the rise of radical ideologies across the political spectrum. Although President Trump specifically suggested that the suspect had ties to the radical left, such violent acts are not confined to any one political group. From the rise of white nationalist movements to violent protests by anti-government factions, there has been a noticeable uptick in political extremism in recent years. This event brings to the forefront the question of how society should respond to the radicalization of individuals, particularly those whose ideologies lead them to violence. As political polarization continues to grow, it's clear that extremists on both sides are becoming more vocal and increasingly willing to act out their beliefs with violence. This trend signals a new era of political confrontation, where the stakes are raised and the risks of violent outcomes are higher. The tragic reality is that such incidents may become more frequent unless decisive action is taken. In the case of Charlie Kirk, his assassination represents the culmination of a climate where political leaders and activists across the spectrum are increasingly targeted. This type of violence is no longer seen as rare, and is more likely to occur in an environment where public figures feel vulnerable and radical views gain traction online and offline. From a law enforcement perspective, the capture of the suspect in this case represents both success and failure. Success, in that the individual was apprehended with impressive speed, thanks to the tireless efforts of local police, the U.S. Marshals, and the minister who played a pivotal role in turning the suspect in. Yet it also highlights a fundamental gap in security. Public figures, especially those involved in controversial political movements, are more vulnerable than ever. Despite law enforcement's quick response, the fact that the suspect was able to act with such impunity speaks to a wider failure to anticipate the growing threats to political figures. A significant portion of the responsibility for these types of violent acts falls on security agencies and their ability to anticipate and prevent attacks before they occur. In today's polarized climate, law enforcement agencies must prioritize protecting not only high-profile politicians, but also everyday citizens who may become targets due to their political views. Trump's comments on how the minister and family played a role in turning the suspect in suggest that the involvement of community networks can be critical in the fight against domestic terrorism. However, it is also essential for law enforcement agencies to leverage intelligence, surveillance, and intervention programs to intervene before an attack occurs. Preventive measures and early intervention are critical to stop the growing wave of violence from escalating further. The assassination of Charlie Kirk and the radicalization that likely drove it serves as a wake-up call for America. There are several critical steps that need to be taken to prevent future acts of violence. First, stronger accountability for violent extremism must be established. Both left-wing and right-wing extremism must be addressed with the same urgency. Social media companies, intelligence agencies, and law enforcement must work together to track and counter radical rhetoric before it leads to real-world violence. Understanding the psychological underpinnings of radicalization and offering appropriate mental health support is essential. Many of those who engage in political violence are often deeply disillusioned or suffering from untreated trauma. Mental health intervention, combined with political de-escalation strategies, is critical to breaking the cycle of violence. There must also be a focus on civic education and dialogue to heal the deepening divide in American society. Encouraging open, respectful conversations about politics, free speech, and democratic values is essential to reducing political tensions. Given the increasing threats, there must be a national conversation on providing heightened security for public figures, especially those in highly polarized political climates. This includes providing protection not only to national leaders, but also to individuals who participate in controversial movements or have become targets for extremist groups. In conclusion, the assassination of Charlie Kirk serves as both a reflection of the current state of political violence and a potential turning point in American political discourse. The incident underscores the polarization of American society, where people are increasingly willing to resort to violence to resolve ideological conflicts. While the quick arrest of the suspect is a positive development, the broader implications of this tragedy are far-reaching. As the nation grapples with the effects of growing political extremism, it is crucial that policymakers, law enforcement, and communities come together to address the root causes of violence and implement measures to protect individuals from ideological extremism. Until then, America's political landscape will remain fraught with the potential for further violence, making it more important than ever to act with urgency to prevent further tragedies.